AITA for wanting to choose the guests in my own birthday? I have a 14-year-old daughter with my ex. My ex and I agreed to be child-free, however she got pregnant and despite our agreement chose to keep it. That's why we broke up, and I made it clear that I will continue to be child-free, however I will give child support until she gets married and has a husband who is willing to adopt the kid, and then I will sign my rights away. She agreed. My family, however, wanted to be involved in her life. I told my family that I don't want to be anywhere near her. I think this is the best for both of us. They chose her over me and stopped inviting me. If she was invited, it meant that about 90% of time she would be invited, and I was invited to about 10%, which is fine, I don't care. However, recently they have started inviting her everywhere. Last night it was my birthday surprise party from my parents, and she was also invited. I don't know why she came, because she very clearly dislikes me. She was sitting in the middle of the room, making snarky comments. At one point I told her that I will get a taxi for her so she can leave. She told me that I should be the one to leave because no one wants you here anyway, and my siblings laughed at her. At this point I just left, and now everyone thinks I'm an asshole and rude for leaving like that. But it's my damn birthday, shouldn't I be allowed to choose the guests? Edit. Just because everyone seems confused. The kid is the one who came to my party. I'm talking about her in my post, I'm not talking about my ex. She ruined my life, she didn't even bring a gift. I was tipped toward NTA because if you don't want to be a father then you shouldn't be forced. She's 14? I was on your side until I saw the replies you were making. You're actually bitter and malignant op. You made a mistake by not wearing a condom years ago. Okay. It resulted in a child. Okay. Your family is absolutely disappointed in you for not stepping up, and they show it by choosing the child over you. Okay. You're jealous over your own child whom you do not know or care for out of your own volition. Okay. Op. You need to speak to a professional about this. Not Reddit. You told it yourself. You family have chosen the kid over you. I don't think you are the but you are a bit delusional. If your ex dies or gets very ill to the point where she cannot take care of your child anymore, what are you going to do when child support isn't enough? You have thought about your ex marrying and some stranger adopting your child. Surely you have also thought about this. Also, maybe you have already done this. If you don't want children, please always use condoms or get a vasectomy. Because it's not a woman's work to put pills into her system because you don't want any children. AmITheAsshole. Except from your child. The 14-year-old child most likely has severe abandonment and attachments issues due to her clearly understanding that her father wants nothing to do with her. Her sarcastic comments come from a place of hurt. And your response was to tell her you'd order her a taxi? You cold-hearted asshole. You are the adult. You should have reined in your sarcastic comments or left the moment you realized she was there. Before she saw you. Your family sucks for putting that poor girl in a situation that could hurt her more. You sound like an awful person. She doesn't like you because you've never been in her life. Understandable. You, meanwhile, never wanted a child and therefore don't want to play at being a father. Understandable. Personally, I think if you can't handle even her existence at someone else's event, that's really unfair. Why not pretend she's a cousin or a niece? She's extended family even if she isn't your daughter. But you seem to act like she's a cold you'll catch if you're too near. You don't just not want to play father to this kid. Which is too late anyway. She's 14. You hate her. And that, to me, is not okay because she doesn't deserve to be hated just for existing. YTA. She doesn't like you. Because you clearly don't like her. YTA for asking a 14-year-old to take a taxi. Next year. Do your birthday on your own and no one will bother you. YTA. Judging more from your comments than your post as you intentionally left out a lot of information. You had a kid at 18 because you didn't use condoms. You said the mom was on BC pills, but like all birth control, those aren't 100% effective and you seem to blame her entirely for that. Your family wanted a relationship with the kid, and rather than just play nice when you're in the same room with her, you decided to ask to not be invited anywhere that she is. You blame your family for choosing her over you, but you're the one who removed yourself from the equation. Your child lives with your parents because your ex is too sick to care for her. You didn't think she'd be at a family party? Are you that stupid? She's 14. Did you want your parents to leave her home alone? Sorry kid. It's you or your dad, so we're gonna go see him. Enjoy your cold pizza. Come on. And you blame your ex for this because she couldn't find a husband in time. You have some anger issues and problems not accepting any of the blame of this situation. It takes two to make a baby. You are 50% to blame for her existing and 100% to blame for forcing your family to choose you or her at every turn. Get therapy or move away and cut off your entire family. And then get therapy for that. Blaming a literal child for your mistakes. FFS. YTA. You don't have to be a parent, but you do have to be a rational, functioning human being. There is nothing parental about being polite, maybe even making small talk. No one's asking you to look after her. NTA for the party thing. YTA for literally everything else you've said. Most especially the comment where you said, "I'm not anti-kid, I just don't like this kid." Oh, you mean the one you created? Your family has a right to choose whether or not they want your child in their life. Or do you think that you're the only one who gets that privilege? There's a reason why everyone would rather have your daughter around at the expense of your presence, and that's you. Everyone seems to be quite happy to not have you at all of these get-togethers, including your birthday. Might be time for some self-reflection. YTA. YTA. You don't think that your daughter, even if you don't want to call her that, you're equally to blame. Might be a bit pissed that her father abandoned her? Sounds like she didn't want to be at your party either, but did want to be with her family, which also happens to be your family because you're her father. You're a grown-ass man. Act like it. You got bullied out of your own birthday party by a 14-year-old because you can't handle the direct effects of your own consequences. ETA. Daughter lives with Op's parents because her mom is ill. He's essentially complaining that his parents took in the kid he abandoned and now he has to be reminded she exists. 14 years and you still think it's okay to be horrible to your kid? She doesn't deserve constantly being reminded that you didn't want her. Also, your siblings weren't laughing at her. They were laughing with her. At you. YTA. If you want to be child-free, then don't have sex unless you've taken serious medical steps to make it so that you can create a child. Otherwise you are accepting the chance of having a child and all the complications that come with that. Deciding to be child-free at 18. 1. People get to change their mind about whether or not they want kids and or whether or not they go through with an abortion, adoption. A conversation with your teenage BF/GF is not a binding legal contract, and changing one's mind is not some deep betrayal. 2. Was the conversation explicitly about being child-free and how you would handle an accidental pregnant was more of a, "Do you want kids? Nah, I don't think so, but who knows" type of thing? Given that you've clarified that the she in the post is the kid, you seem to have a lot of hate and anger towards a 14-year-old and your family, who presumably knows quite a bit more about you than Reddit, seems to have very strongly aligned themselves with the kid, not you, which is telling. Relevant info that is needed. What was abortion access like where you lived 14 years ago? Was it safe, legal, and relatively destigmatized? You said you were 18. Was your GF also 18? If she was under 18, her parents might have played a role in the decisions she was able to make. Was this a small town where your parents knew her and would absolutely know she was pregnant? Harder for your family to ignore, not be involved in that case. YTA seriously dude, have a heart. YTA. You wanted to be child-free, but you couldn't be responsible with your dick. You now have a child. And your behavior is so disgusting that your family would rather celebrate your child than you. I would think on that for a bit. YTA. And that poor girl has every reason not to like you. Don't want a kid. Wrap it or don't have sex. I'm glad your parents chose her over you. NTA for the party. But YTA in general. You have been deliberately cruel to a child. She did not ask to be born any more than you asked for her to be born. But you are supposed to be a grown-up. In your post, you seem bitter that she doesn't like you. But you have clearly rejected her. A child is not capable of understanding the nuances of adult relationships and decisions. She only knows that the person who fathered her hates her. That is tough for a kid. Try to have a little compassion for the only person here who never had a choice at all. I was confused until the edit. Your kid is who you're pissed about being part of the family? Your family didn't choose you over her. You don't choose family. You are family. She's your parents' grandchild, niece to your siblings. You chose to attempt to freeze her out from them and to have no contact with a baby that you were ultimately responsible for making. The whole "she got pregnant" line was the first red flag in your post. She didn't do it by herself. You chose to make your family choose, and they chose the person who wasn't being a world-class AH. And why wouldn't they? Emotionally abandoning a child, even if it wasn't initially wanted, is pretty heartless. Even the most minor of interactions throughout her life, out for lunch occasionally, remembering to send a birthday present, etc., would help make her feel wanted and valued as a person. But clearly what you want out of life is the only thing that matters. Forget that pretty much nobody gets exactly what they want out of life. Or that responsibility exists whether you asked for it or not. Other than financially, you turned your back on a baby, who is understandably bitter about that now that she's grown. You're bitter because everyone looks at you and your actions and thinks you're an AH. If you don't want people thinking that, then stop being one. YTA. I treat strangers with more decency than you treat your own daughter. Granted, she was not planned and you don't have to take her on father-daughter holidays. But just being a decent human towards her and asking how she is now and again really wouldn't take much. I think it says it all that the rest of your family prefer time with her than you. You sound like an immature jerk. No wonder you were laughed at. Maybe she shouldn't have been at your party. But she, like it or not, will always be your daughter. You need to act like an adult. You sound like you're 10 years old. YTA. Just simply for the complete lack of empathy for this kid. It's not her fault she was brought into this world. It's not her fault her dad wants nothing to do with her. It's not her fault she can see her dad exists, but rather than be civil would rather abandon her or pack her off in a taxi. It's all very well saying you don't want kids. You have one. And I see nothing from you understanding the level of abandonment and distress you have caused her. You even say you're not anti-kids. You just don't like this one. Failing to recognize your behavior is no doubt the reason she is so troubled. The way you talk about this child is grim. She's the only innocent one here.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.